Okay, so we learned so much from this episode, and I'm loving it because some of the stuff I predicted. So I'm like yelling at my TV, like freaking out, like, oh my gosh, I knew that was gonna happen. So anyway, let's start from the beginning. So Boone cracks me up because he's walking around campus pretty much like himself. Did he forget he was dead? Okay, no, he didn't forget he was dead, but he doesn't want to be dead anymore. And when people are like, who are you? He's like, I'm Walking Phoenix. Of course, what was it, Chanel number 3? She was like, no, you're Boone. But he's like, no, I'm Boone's ghost. And honestly, her character is so stupid. She was like, oh my gosh, you're dead gay Boone, or whatever she called him. So funny. The fact that she even believed that he was a ghost and was coming back to haunt her, I thought was pretty ridiculous. So Chanel number 1 is so excited because she's going to go meet Chad Radwell's family for Thanksgiving in the Hamptons. At least that's what she thinks. So there's a lot of ghost stories in this episode, which is not a surprise because guess what this episode's called? Oh yeah, ghost stories. And Denise has a few, which actually I think are real ghost stories. I don't know if they're real, but they're not like stories that Ryan Murphy made up. They've been passed down throughout other generations. Some of these ghost stories in this episode actually come true, so that's more than a little creepy. So we learn a lot about Boone, and I'm talking a lot. Number 1, we learned something that, I gotta be honest, I didn't call it. He's not actually gay. He's been pretending to be gay, and he's actually in love with Zayday. Some of you called that, I think. And yes, it was him who she stabbed because he kidnapped her just because he was in love with her. This was not part of the plan, and she stabbed him with a fork, okay? So that was totally him. And now he's come back because he wants to get Zayday to fall in love with him, and basically he wants her to date him, and he doesn't want to be dead anymore because who wants to be dead? Like, really? So, with one of the first ghost stories that Denise tells, it actually comes true, and she almost gets killed by the Red Devil in the bathroom. And let me just say that at this point, I was seriously yelling at my TV because you guys know how much I love Denise. She's just so funny. I think she's such an asset to this show. I honestly think she will not survive at the end, but I didn't want her to die now, maybe because we still had 4 episodes left at this point. She's so cool that she's able to fight off the Red Devil and survive, so thank you, gods of Scream Queen, for making this moment possible. So Boone is kind of an idiot. He breaks into Zayday's room, he professes his love for her, and she is smart because she's not buying it. She's like, I know you're not a ghost. And then Grace comes in and she's like, I know you're not a ghost, but how funny was that line when she was like, I like your shirt. He was like, do you know what it's made out of? Yeah, boyfriend material. I know that's an old joke, but it really made me laugh. But anyway, they aren't believing him. They're confronting him. They're like, oh my gosh. At this point, they realize that for sure he's a Red Devil. He jumps out the window, but sadly, Earl Grey, who is Zayday's boyfriend, he murders him because he's super jealous of him. He actually takes off his mask so we know that it was him murdering Earl. Some of you thought that Earl was an RD. I honestly never did, and I'm glad he's not because he was a minor character, and it would have honestly upset me if he turned out to be an RD. So Hester tells a ghost story about this girl who's driving and there's a mass murderer in the back of her car and this truck driver's trying to warn her. Well, that ends up happening to Chanel number 5, except the difference between Hester's story and what really happens is that Chanel number 5 actually survives. Well, maybe the first girl survived too, but regardless, Chanel number 5 survives and the truck driver gets murdered by the RD. And I'm going to say, like you all are thinking, let me just say what you're thinking, that why does Chanel number 5 always survive when the RD is never that close to anyone else and lets them live? So there's something majorly up with that. I want to know what you think about that below. Part of me thinks that that actually never happened to her because she's in on all of this and that she made up that ghost story and she didn't actually have any of that happen to her. Either she made it up because she wanted to be cool or she made it up because she's somehow in on all this Red Devil stuff. What do you guys think? So Hester gets super offended when she finds out that Chad is not taking her to meet his parents, but he's taking Chanel number 1. So she makes up this crazy story that she's pregnant, which I never believed for 1 second. Thankfully, the other Chanels pretty much force her into admitting that she's lying, but she says since they still book the first class tickets to the Hamptons, she still has to go. So yeah, as you can imagine, that does not go over well. Chanel number 1 goes to confront Chad, and she is so freaking mad. She is like, kind of hints that she just might have to kill him, and he gets that hint. Even though he acts stupid, he does get that hint. I really don't think that will happen. I think he's one of the people who's going to survive to near the end. But we need to talk about Chad some more, and we'll do that in just a little bit. So some more stuff that we learned about Boon near the end of this episode was pretty epic. First of all, we have this great scene with Boon, another Red Devil, and Gigi, and they're plotting, supposedly this is what Boon thinks, him and the other RD to kill Gigi at this moment because they're just tired of her. Now, she raised Boon and the twin in the insane asylum, and he was kind of, upset, and he wants to get revenge for that type of lifestyle, obviously. Not that most people would want to get revenge, but you can see why he is upset, So they are planning on stabbing Gigi to death, or at least that's what he's planning on doing. But here's the thing. I knew all along that the other Red Devil, who's actually in the costume here, was going to kill Boon and not Gigi. I could just tell that was going to happen. What about you? Thumbs up if that is what you thought. But this is where I want to tell you my theory. I do not believe that that other Red Devil was his twin sister. I know that Boon thought that was his twin sister, but I think it was someone else. And I think it could really be Chad. Because like I've said a million times, or if you're new here, like I've said for the first time to you, I think Chad is smart. I don't think he is stupid like he pretends. I think he's going to play a major role in this, and I could definitely see him being like a third Red Devil. If not him, I do think it was a guy who killed Boon, and I think that it's either Chad or Grace's dad or Pete. But I really think it could be Chad, because if you caught something that Gigi said something about, you killed your brother, which all of you are thinking probably, okay, she's talking to this twin sister who killed the brother. But I'm thinking, and what some of you pointed out during my live chat this week, that brother means frat brother, because we all know in fraternities they call each other brother. So think about that for a little bit and see what you think. Then Chanel number 1 tries to act like she doesn't care about Hester, and then she pushes her down the stairs, and it appears that she's like broken her neck or broken her back or something and is dead. I'm not quite sure that she's dead. I think it's going to end up she just has some injuries, but she's okay. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I hope they don't pull a she's dead and then she comes back to life, because we can't do that with more than one character. Please, Scream Queens, come on. So at this point, you would think that the twin has to be pretty easy to figure out, which it should be, although I still don't think that was the person who killed Boon. But I mean, it's got to be a white girl around Boon's age, so I'm thinking, I really think it's Grace, because, again, like I've said from the beginning, I'm going to go back to what I have said all along. She's really the least likely. She's never acted crazy. No one has a reason to believe she's got any kind of mental issues. And it's usually the person who acts super normal who really is acting, and they're actually a psychopathic killer. That's just my thoughts. But I want to know what your theories are. We had a blast at my live show today. It was actually 45 minutes, so I'm going to make them 45 minutes long. By today, I mean on Wednesday. It's every Wednesday at 6 p.m. and that information is down below. So I really hope you can attend, because we only have 3 episodes left. So this is the time to really be like discussing those theories, and I want you guys to do that down below. And if you are new here or you haven't subscribed but you've been watching, if you would hit that subscribe button, I would love it, because then you won't miss any of these videos and you would make me really happy. And I've got more shows coming up too, so maybe you'll like those as well. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this episode of Kellie TV, and I will see you next time.
Yeah, baby. I want you to be mine.